We're going to change over to our guest every other week, Bob Chapman. We really appreciate his input. We want to know what's going on. What do we plan on doing? And especially with his latest little brief that came out that said, get out of the stock market now. Bob Chapman is the editor of the financial newsletter called The International Forecaster at theinternationalforecaster.com. Thank you very much, Bob, for joining us in the Power Hour today.
Well, you're welcome, and it's very nice to be back again. And all sorts of exciting things are happening nowadays.
Talk to us. What's good and exciting that's happening?
Well, I think gold it's up 1060 again, and it seems to be absolutely nothing in front of it. And so I think the next stop is 1200 to 1250, probably in December. And we'll probably have a little correction, and maybe in the spring it'll move up to 1650. And by the end of the year, be up to 2500. I think that would be just terrific.
Oh, my. Well, I got an email from a gentleman who said, I will never listen to you again, never buy anything from you again. You salivate whenever you talk about gold prices. It's a shame that people have to feel that way. I'm happy for those people that bought gold at $250, $300 because now they can pay off their mortgages. They can pay off their car. They can pay off whatever debt they want to pay off. Or they can just continue to watch the gold rise. It's the devaluation of the dollar that is the problem. It's not the elevation of the gold price, is it?
Gold only elevates because the dollar is going down. And, the question that was presented to Mr. Trudeau late in the program, he said, I think it's best to be out of debt. And, of course, that's true and has been for a long, long time. But given the choice, I would just make regular debt payments now, and that's it, the minimum payments, because all your money that you have that is not going into food and seeds and a water filter and all of those basic things that you need should be going into gold and silver, because if we're right, and I know that you believe this as well, and that's why I say we're, then we're looking at a situation where if gold and silver go up in value because other things go down in value beyond our control, I may add, then you're going to be able to pay any kind of debt off later on at a much better rate than you would presently. So I would just keep my payments up and hope that we're correct and we can pay that debt off cheaply later.
Yeah, someone heard you say on the program, buy food, don't pay off your credit card bills, but you're saying stay with the minimum payment required.
Right.
You're not saying just
there'll
quit
come
paying.
a time, too, when you will not pay your debt because there won't be any sense in it, and because the credit card companies will go under, the banks will go under. I mean, who do you pay? And, of course, that eventually will be sorted out. And whether it'll be on the same level that we're at today remains to be seen. If they devalue the dollar by 2/3, which I think they're going to, then will debt be paid off at 1/3 the rate as previously? If it is not, there'll be a revolution.
When do you think this is going to take place, that you won't have to pay off the rest of your debt because it won't make any sense?
1.5 to 2.5 years out. This is what I figure. I think this coming year, first of all, I think into December, we'll see the USDX, which is around 75 something right now. We'll see it at 71, 72. There'll be a rally. It'll come back and test again. And sometime during the first 6 months of next year, the dollar will break down to 65 and then 60, maybe 55 during that year. And then in the following year, I think it'll break lower. I think it'll go down to 40, or at least to 50. And that's when I think the United States government will say, officially, we're devaluing the dollar, 3 old ones for 1 new one, and we are going to default in our debt, but we're going to do it with everybody else. So all the currencies will be revalued, devalued, and everybody will get a haircut of 2/3 on their debt. And I think that's what they're going to do. It kind of follows the precept that was used in Argentina at the turn of the century between 1999 and 2002, when they had their most recent collapse. And so I think that's what they're headed for. And in the meantime, they're paying off old debt with cheaper money.
And you're saying
so they really don't care.
Okay, and you're saying USDX is what?
USDX closed.
Or what does it stand for?
It's down today.
What does it stand for?
It closed on Friday around, I don't have the figure.
Okay, we'll be right back. We've got a 3-minute break, or 4-minute break. Welcome back to the Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. It is 9:24 Central Time. We appreciate your thinking outside the cage. And if you have been listening to Bob Chapman, I think you know that what he says is accurate. All you have to do is follow the trends, follow the history of what he said. And you can get the International Forecaster newsletter by calling this number. You get a complimentary copy. Decide if it's something you want to get on an ongoing basis, and I'm sure you will. 877-479-8178. 877-479-8178 to get a complimentary copy of the International Forecaster newsletter. You can go to theinternationalforecaster.com. Bob, the question though, see, where did we end? We had a
I had a question.
Yeah, well, we were talking about the USDX when we went to the break. I want to finish that. USDX stands for, what does that stand for?
U.S. dollar index.
Okay, the U.S. dollar index. Okay, and do we know what?
6 major currencies versus the United States dollar on a weighted basis. I don't have the figures in front of me here, but the biggest weighting is with the euro, which is around 0.57 of 100%. So it's 57% of that total index, a little bit more than half. Mm-hmm. And then it's distributed among the Canadian dollar, the British pound, Swedish krona, the Swiss franc, and who did I leave out? Oh, the Japanese yen. Oh. There you go. And so that's what that index is. And it's a very, very important, it's not the best index. A G20 index would be better, but we don't have one of those. So we'll have to live with what we got.
Okay. And, Josh, you wanted to ask something of...
Yeah, Bob, if I'm not mistaken, I heard you on Alex's. I do listen on shortwave, so it comes in and out. But I want to say that I heard you mention Bank of America and how possibly they were planning on dumping all the toxic assets into Bank of America. Is that not right?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, and I was going to mention it, but I was on with Don Russell on CBS in Charlotte, North Carolina, Sunday morning. And so he says, I can see Bank of America right out my window here, their headquarters. And I said, well, that's terrific. And he said, well, Mr. Lewis has left as a CEO. And I said, yes, I know that. And he said, I guess he, didn't like the way things were going. And I said, well, I think he didn't like what the Federal Reserve was forcing Bank of America to buy. And the Fed has been buying toxic assets, so they won't tell us what they're paying for them. They could be paying anywhere from 100% on the investment all the way down to 10%. But what they've been doing is taking, after they buy them, they shuffle them sideways over to B of A, and they may eventually be worthless. So what they're doing is they're in the process of dumping all their toxic waste that they're taking from other bankrupt banks and shoving it to B of A and thinking that they will take B of A under bankrupt before the next year is out. And that is what they're up to, and that's why Lewis left. And I got that on good authority. Now, maybe because I've broken the story, and there was one other person I heard had talked about it. I can't remember their name, nor do I know them. And there was a story, I was on with Dr. Stan, there was a story attributed to Meredith Whitney, a bank analyst in New York City, of having said the same thing. But in checking with her company, we found that they didn't admit that they had said that. But I think they did and withdrew it because they got a lot of heat, probably from the federal government. But we may stop them from doing it by exposing it, because I think they just started the process about 6 months ago. So we'll wait and see, but that's what they're up to.
Okay. Let me open up the phone lines. If you have a question or comment for Bob Chapman, 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. You made the statement in some of the information that I received that said, get your money out of the banks now. Now, that was pretty... Now means now. Now does not mean in 2 weeks. Did you say that for any particular reason?
Yes, I think people should have a 3-month supply of operating funds in the bank. If you're a corporation, you should have 6 months and no more. You shouldn't have bank CDs, and you shouldn't have cash value life insurance policies nor annuities, because most all of them invest in the stock market. The banks don't, but the banks have the FDIC, and the FDIC doesn't have any money. No, the FDIC is going to have to get money from the federal government.